Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach, and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%. I swear we didn't script that.
All I could think of was Dame.
6-0. There could not be a better name.
Speaking of young guys, how about the goalie, Ottinger?
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening because this is why you shouldn't have given Zeke this contract. Just thought I'd point that out.
I feel like Luka will take that next step, and if he can get a 3 ball consistently around 35%, I feel like they could become a contender.
While with the Padres and Marlins, I think it's coming in the near future.
They're my pick to win the most rings in the 2020s.
I was shocked by Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Montreal has one of the best goalies in the league with Carey Price.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 46th episode. Congratulations to the winner of our Outsiders Opinions bracket, Bragging Rights. The top 3 was Bragging Rights Official Outsiders Opinions bracket, which we did a video on, and then NCAA March Sadness. And we can't forget about the guy that finished last in the bracket, Big Ten Strong. Maybe you'll get him next year, and I feel for you as the Rangers are near the bottom of the division. Speaking of baseball, last episode we did MLB predictions, so go check that out. It was a really fun episode, and I just got 2 things for Austin. You're welcome for Rougned Odor. I know he got the winning run. And then, did the tournament live up to the hype? As today we will be reviewing the championship game and then doing a future prediction for next year's championship game. So did it live up to the hype, Austin?
No, it didn't. I don't think so. The championship game did not. While the tournament, I think the tournament definitely paid off. The championship game was something to be left something to be desired. Baylor was just a better team. I saw that heading in. They had a much harder schedule throughout the season. They faced COVID and overcame it. They grew as a team as the season went along, and Gonzaga never had a hard opponent to play. They had won, I think, 27 straight games by double digits. The only close game they had was against West Virginia, and they lost. I mean, they won by 5 points then. But I going in, I knew Gonzaga could not shoot the 3 ball as effectively as Baylor, and I knew that they were going to have to come out, improve themselves to me, and they didn't. What did you think about the game?
First of all, I had known about Baylor had some scandal, and then after the game I saw all the publicity and I did some reading, and I was just I was shocked at the scandal.
Yeah, I've read about it. I've read about it too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, if you're like me, I knew there was okay, something happened. You should go look it up and then realize the 18-year promise. Scott Drew, what an incredible job of him just building that up. And now they get it was the first time since 1948.
They made the finals, yeah. And this means that he's no doubt a Hall of Famer in my mind. To take a team that was nobody wanted their job. I've read the article. Nobody wanted it. Even lower down coaches that could have taken a Power 5 school and potentially taken them to where Scott Drew took them, no one wanted it. And the Valpo coach, Scott Drew, decided that was the best move to go to Baylor. And I cannot believe, after reading the article, you're like, how did he get here? How did this? How? And I mean, Baylor won the game, and that's a 18-year promise, like you said. And Scott Drew, that's an incredible story for him and everyone that was on this ride with Baylor.
And then to get to the actual game, you mentioned 3-pointers. Baylor opened the game shooting 5 for 5 from the 3-point line. And then they did an excellent job defensively stopping Gonzaga's 3-pointer. Jalen Suggs did get into some foul trouble early into the game, but still a great job defensively. And Gonzaga had 14 turnovers in the total of the game. So such an aggressive win by Baylor. And they punched Gonzaga right in the mouth. Gonzaga maybe riding that high from the UCLA game, but they just came out strong. And whenever I was watching the game, I'm okay, it's a close game. I look and it's a double-digit lead for Baylor. It was just like, wow. It wasn't really close, so I can sense your disappointment on this championship game.
Yeah, definitely. Me and my dad were talking in the middle of the game, and he said they have to cut it to single digits by the 10-minute mark in the second half, and they cut it to 9 with 13 minutes left. Uh, and then they were down by 16 with 10 minutes left. I mean, it's just whenever they clawed back, Baylor was like, "Okay, we're gonna go hit 2 threes," and then Baylor would make a bad play. Maybe they get a foul, maybe they get a turnover, and then Gonzaga would make the free throw. They couldn't make free throws. They could never convert on Baylor's mistakes. And whenever they had mistakes, whenever Baylor had mistakes, Gonzaga never could take advantage of them like they did for UCLA.
Yeah, I'm getting you the numbers right now for the free throw because Baylor only missed 2 free throws. They were 16 for 18, and then Gonzaga was 15 for 21, which was a 71.4 free throw percentage. So that goes to your point, free throws being an incredible thing. And then Baylor just dominated all aspects of the game. Free throws, we haven't mentioned rebounding, but they were just incredibly good on the rebounds for Baylor and keeping the ball and winning the ball. And I think they were really good in transition.
Yeah, and this goes to prove that I think some people like myself saw the UCLA game won by Gonzaga is a little bit lucky. And Baylor won this game. There was no luck involved. They were just a better team. Um, a lot of people expected Gonzaga to win this game. A lot of people uh, I'm not going to name the individual, but a lot of people were asking on live television whether or not this was the greatest team of all time in college basketball, and I'm like, whoa, 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 slow your roll there. We haven't even played the game yet. Let's wait until see whether or not they win this game, and it wasn't close. I
Yeah,
watched the majority of it, and then I turned it off with 5 minutes left. What were you saying?
I thought it was going to be me because I did believe Gonzaga. I was like, Baylor's playing really well, but I'm just going to roll with Gonzaga. But as soon as you mentioned television, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm safe for now.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, that's
mean,
an excellent point.
yeah, like I said, I turned off the game with 5 minutes left, and I had no doubt in my mind Gonzaga had lost. I had I didn't have to watch it. There was no reason for me to watch it. They had not proven anything to me throughout the entirety of the game. Uh, like you said, foul trouble for Jalen Suggs early. Uh, Drew Timme had 4 fouls by the end of the game. And while Baylor did commit more fouls, and I believe some of that was to try to get the game to be a little bit more competitive, they could never make the free throws. 15 of 21 isn't enough to win a game. You have to make all 6 of those free throws because if you do, that's a 10-point game. Like at the end of the game, it would be 10 points. But at that point, you're like, hey, we're making our free throws. Maybe you drive more to draw more fouls. Maybe you get confidence. Once you see the ball go in, you can start making your threes. You can start making your layups. You can start making things easier on yourself. And they missed so many layups during the game. Jalen Suggs made an amazing steal or an amazing block or something, amazing play, and then misses a layup. And it's like, you did what? What are you doing? You have to make the layup. There's no choice. Like that's what costs you a game.
And to talk about we have the big time players for Gonzaga. The big time players for Baylor, Butler, Teague, and Mitchell combined for 56 points. Mitchell was just incredibly good on defense, and just the bench overall, all the players on Baylor just played their hearts out on the floor, and they took it to Gonzaga, and Gonzaga I think was a little alarmed. They're like, "Whoa, we didn't expect this."
Yeah. I think the luckiest thing of the entire season for Baylor was getting COVID, and here's why: they would have played Gonzaga. They would have played them, but the game got canceled. They played that game. I don't believe that game's like that. Maybe Gonzaga doesn't go into the game undefeated, but Gonzaga knows how to play them. And they just got hit in the mouth. Gonzaga never played a great defensive team. Creighton was probably the best defensive team that they had faced up to that point. UCLA was a great defensive team, and then they faced Baylor, a top 5 defensive team, in my opinion. And they just get run out of the building. I don't think Mark Few, while he is a tremendous coach and the only reason why Gonzaga has been good for so many years now, and I don't think he's missed a tournament in his entire tenure, but he is the reason why. Uh, I don't think he prepared them well enough for this game. I don't feel like the team didn't look ready out the jump, and when it was 19-4 to start the game, I mean, you're just sitting there looking at the TV like, is this Gonzaga or is this like their JV team or something like that? Like, I just didn't see the passion needed to win a game like Baylor had. And I think a lot of props has to go to Teague. Like you said, those three combined, Butler, Teague, and Mitchell combined for 56 points. But Masio Teague, man, he took over at some points in the game. Like it was very impressive watching him just it didn't seem like he could miss. And there were many guys on Baylor that just could not miss from 3-point range, and that really set them up for victory.
Speaking of guys who cannot miss, you did not miss with Mark Few. He took over in the 1999-2000 season for Gonzaga, and he has made the NCAA tournament ever since. So you are correct on that. And then, speaking of your COVID point, that's exactly right about Gonzaga would have been prepared when facing Baylor a second time, but also this allowed Baylor to get hot. Like they weren't hot from before. I think the Final Four game from 3. They're a great defensive team and they could score, but they just were not doing well from 3. As they were doing well, but they didn't shoot this well like they did in this championship game, which is a thing I think that would have caused them to get inflated if they were doing this well throughout the tournament like Gonzaga had until they faced the tough UCLA team. So that's just another point about how COVID, while it hurt many teams like VCU who couldn't play because of COVID, it allowed Baylor to get hot at the right moment, which is the big thing throughout in just playoffs in general, but mostly throughout this tournament, as some teams, as Loyola Chicago, not this year, but the few years before in Texas Tech. Do you agree with that, or?
Well, I mean, it just depends on how you're playing the entirety of the season. Um, it just matters. Like, for on your point about Baylor getting hot, instills a ton of confidence when you're not playing your best and you're still winning games. When you're not playing your best and still winning games, it gives you more confidence. And with more confidence, you're going to shoot better. You're going to play better defensively. You're going to play more as a team. Hey, guys, we're not playing our best, but we're winning. We're in the Final Four now. And then they turned it on against Houston, and that was it. Once I saw that Houston game, Houston one of the best defensive teams in all the nation. I would say that Houston is a better defensive team than Baylor for the entirety of the season. But the offense of Baylor really erupted, and once the offense got going, the defense got going, and once the defense got even better, the offense got even better, and then they ran into Gonzaga, and Gonzaga wasn't ready. And I think that could be seen throughout the entirety of the game, and this has to be a tough way to go out for Corey Kispert, a senior, or Jalen Suggs if he does decide to go to the draft, which I would be very surprised if he didn't. It's just tough to see.
Yeah, and another thing is Gonzaga is the third team to be unbeaten until the final game in the championship. They are with, I believe, Ohio State in 60 and 61, and then Indiana State in 78 to 79. I will double check about Ohio State, but any more final thoughts before we do our future predictions?
Sure. I mean, it was impressive. Some people see a win and they question like, could they have done that if could they have done that if both teams had met before? And I believe wholeheartedly that Baylor was the better team. And I think the WCC, the West Coast Conference, kind of allowed Gonzaga to not play their best basketball at times and still beat the University of San Francisco, Pepperdine, schools like that. And while Baylor played a bad game, they lose to Oklahoma State in the tournament, in their Big 12 tournament. And I think that's really the difference between the conferences, and that's really why, especially me, wow, I can't speak. I tend to lean towards the Power Five team, or at least a team that's played in a conference that is better than the WCC.
Just to follow back, that's an excellent point you made, but it was the 1960 to 61 Ohio State men's basketball team. I just wanted to double check. We try to aim to be a prestigious podcast, so we're bringing that accuracy towards you. For you. My apologies. Words are hard. Now that I've stopped my ranting, now I should stop my ranting about us, our future goals for the podcast. Let's just get to next season for our predictions. I'll let you make your predictions.
Yeah, so next season, I feel like UCLA, as they're getting everybody back, including Tiger Campbell, Johnny Using, Yami Yaquez, they're getting Chris Riley back. They get Smith back. I mean, they get Chris Smith back, and they now still have Riley coming back. They basically have their starting lineup plus the guy who the coach thought was their best player that was out. So I mean, I just honestly feel like they're going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat, and they have the experience from this season. I don't see how they don't make it, and I'm going to have them versing Texas. Texas is a team recently that has not performed the best in the tournament. They haven't won a tournament in a game in a long time. Even though this year they've won the Big 12 championship, I feel like Chris Beard is a good enough coach that with this roster in his first season, he can lead them back to where they haven't been in a long time. Texas has never won a national championship. The only two Texas teams that have done it is UTEP when they were called Texas Southern and now Baylor. So yeah, but my pick to win that game is UCLA. I feel like UCLA will be the national champion after beating Texas. What do you think next year will look like?
So I'm gonna have Villanova. I feel Gillespie is gonna come back, and then Villanova is gonna return back to their form. And then I'm not really straying too far. I'm going to Duke. I feel Coach K is going to be able to bring them back. They had an off year this season, but it's going to be a battle of the blue bloods in college basketball. And then just to make a point, you having Texas would be the third straight championship that would feature a Texas team, because Texas Tech did it in 2019, then 2020 we had the hiatus, 2021 we of course have Baylor, and then 2022, according to Austin, we'll have Texas with the newly hired Chris Beard.
Yeah, who do you have winning your national championship?
Oh, yeah, that's a important thing. Thanks for catching me on that. I'm gonna have Duke. I'm going with Duke. I just trust Coach K. They are getting a lot of recruits, so that's who I have winning. I'm not really straying too far. So I believe that concludes our episode, as Austin has UCLA being the 2022 champions, while I have Duke. Will the championship next year, do you have high expectations, higher than this year's championship because like you had the hiatus, Austin, or
I
because
mean,
this is your favorite event?
this is my favorite sports event. Despite the fact that I love all four major sports relatively equally, it'd be hard for me to choose a favorite. But March Madness hits differently. I do have heightened expectations for next season, um, especially because this was a 16-point blowout where it was never close. It wasn't one of those blowouts that just happens at the end of the game where you're up by 6 and then you turn the ball over and they hit a three and then you miss a shot and they make another three and now you're down by 12. Then you have to start fouling. It's not one of those blowouts. It's a blowout that was consistent throughout the entirety of the game. Like I said, they started out 19 in first four. So uh, I think my UCLA Texas game would be good. I bet UCLA would win by 7 or 8. But I definitely expect the national championship, and for that matter, one of the Final Four games, as the UCLA Gonzaga game was the only good out of the two. The Houston Baylor game was also an absolute blowout. I don't think people talk about enough how dominant Baylor's run was. Like, I don't think a game was single digits out of any of the games. No, I think Villanova was 8. Maybe they lost by 8. I think the closest game was the Villanova one. They lost by and Villanova had lost by 8, I believe, or maybe all of them were double digits. I don't know. Kevin is currently checking. I guess we'll find
I
out.
am. Will he be 2 for 2? And what was your first initial
My initial
prediction?
prediction is that none of the games were decided by single digits.
You are correct. Baylor versus Hartford, 79-55. Baylor versus Wisconsin, 76-63. Baylor versus Villanova, 62-51. Then, oh wait, may not be double digits for this one.
Oh, the Arkansas one?
Yeah, Arkansas. Baylor had 81. Arkansas was 72, which I
Is 9. It's
believe
9,
is
9. That's so
okay.
close. I was close, but uh, but that's pretty
You-
dominant still. Like none of the games were really close. Like Gonzaga obviously had a game versus UCLA. UCLA had a close game previously to Michigan, and also had a close game to Michigan State in their play-in game, where it headed to overtime. Um, and then Houston had a close game against Rutgers that they had to come back and win. Um, but yeah, Baylor definitely had a very dominant run. I don't think any of their games, once it got towards the end, was in question. And I really hope that there will be a more interesting finals, including the Final Four next season.
Yeah, and mentioning Baylor's dominant run with only 9 points, you're close, but you didn't ace it yet.
Yeah,
But
close enough.
yeah, so I think that was overshadowed by Gonzaga. Like Gonzaga had the big storyline: will they be the first unbeaten team? And oh my gosh, they're blowing out people, and then they uh, run into some trouble with UCLA, but pull it out with some luck. So I think that may have been it. But I think Baylor is going to get a lot of attention, as they should, next year with UCLA and Gonzaga. We may see fall off a bit. Okay, now I got my sentence. Well, that wasn't really a sentence. I got my phrase said in a place where it sounded correct.
Yeah, I just
I
want to step in real
apologize.
quick and mention one more thing before we end the episode. It's very rare for a team to go to back-to-back national championships. If we look when Villanova won, they won in 2016 and then 2018. UNC went to the championship in 2016 and then won it in 2017. That's the most recent went to back-to-back, but nobody's won back-to-back, so I'd be very surprised in a very long time since Florida in 06-07. So I'd be very, very surprised if Baylor just turn around and win another one, especially as they're losing Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler. I don't know if T's going to the league. I bet he will. But it would be very surprising if Baylor makes another run. And then it's also, like I said, rare for a team to go to back-to-back national championships in the first place. UNC did it, but that was a team filled with a lot of NBA talent, including Enrique's favorite player, Justin Jackson. But yeah, I expect next year to be maybe a milder tournament where there's not as many upsets, but a better finish. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The upsets, I think, were we saw some incredible players, but I think the seeding was not as good because of COVID. Some teams had to deal with COVID, so they got a lower seed when they should have been a higher seed, and then so I think that played a huge part in it. But I'm definitely excited for next year, and then congratulations again to Bragging Rights for the first ever winner of the Outsiders Opinions bracket. We will be doing that next year. And then on a final note, if you are on Apple Podcasts, please give us a review. If you're on Spotify and you know how to do a review, we would appreciate that. And then email us at outsidersopinions2020@gmail.com so you can enlighten me how I can tell other people to do that. And then next episode, it's been a while since we've covered the NHL, but big things are happening tomorrow, and we will go over them and leading up to tomorrow. A lot of trades that happened today. So we will be going over the NHL trade deadline. Please check back on YouTube and hit that like button and hit the alert so you know when we drop that NHL trade deadline episode.